Hello and welcome to I guess technically episode 2. I usually do like episode 0 is like the intro episode, do a zero-based indices and indexing system. And yeah, so we're going to go ahead and do this to, 11:45. The kiddos are so tired. I'm just gonna let them sleep in. It is their weekend, and like I always feel like I'm like worried that they're gonna get cheated out of like not having time with their devices and stuff. They don't have a lot of gaming devices at their other house, and that's fine. I respect my co-parents' parenting style. And she's more of a low-tech, like reading books, playing outside, which is all fine and good. And they still do sports and athletics and stuff like that. So it's like they're getting that. But I mean, as far as like, oh, I could spend all day doing this, and I do, but it's all about balance. You got to go to the gym, you got to go for a walk, you got to go for a run, like you got to continue to do these things. We need a lot more stone, so let's actually go ahead and do that, and then let's talk about some things. So we'll make this just the project chest for all that. Um, yeah, whatever, flotsam. We need sticks, and we need... Alright, here we go. Let's get some tuft, too. I really like the tuft. Oh wait, I need one of these. Alright, let's do it. Oh, wait. Wait. There's just so much stuff. Aha! The drift is real. Okay, and... I'll leave the book on the sign. So yeah, I think that's what I'll do this evening is I'll just like stream and then I'll just document everybody. But for now, let's go ahead and prepare for this evening. Going to gather up the supplies. Oh, I'm so excited. I always love like starting a new Minecraft world and starting a new playlist and doing all these musings. So, and hopefully they amount to something. If they even inspire one person to do things better or differently. Actually, let's get carrots. I don't like using bread for... Like, bread's for like a good 2, almost 3 hearts. Carrots are just good for little when in need. So, I already mined out a lot of diorite to make the cactus farm. And I made a sugarcane farm with my son the other day, and that was really exciting. Little things like that. Like, that's what I do this stuff for. And so I can have the enjoyment, but also so everybody can. Like, I'm not anything more special than the next person. Like I was starting to say in the last episode with like, how, yeah, I look like a king in this, but really, we're all kings and queens and royalty and leaders in our own domains. We just need to understand how to respect each other. And it's kind of like that Gorillaz music video with the submarines, and they're all like little spaceships floating through the ocean. And in each spaceship, there was like a bunch of different people, and they were all their own little like happy little bubbles, like floating along. And that's just kind of like how I imagine people are. Like you're just floating off in your own little like world, and you're just enjoying this life, this experience that's called life, and trying to just live your best life, and not have that FOMO and not worry about, did I do things good or could I have done things better, and then, stuff like that. But yeah, and I don't know. Just also thinking about some work stuff, and like, I do a lot for work. It's like, I think I need a vacation here soon, and I think that will help me. I mean, I'm still going to continue to work on the side project, as I can, of course. It's funny, I used to not like Tuft. Like, it was just this kind of, like, useless, like, like it's getting in the way of stuff. I guess it was a little easier than mining the black rocks or the dark rocks here, but... I mean, it's all painfully slow with stone tools. That's why I need to get enchantments going. I have a village close by. Oh, that's something we could do. We could also beef up the village too. But basically, we're all people out there trying to just figure out what to do and how to do it, and then we have to deal with people being rude or mean or evil, and some of the loftier goals with this stuff is to end predation. Even as I say that, that sounds very, very lofty. But it's true, and it's very important. And when I say predation, I mean, financially, the biggest things people think about is like sexual and like physical. Like, you're gonna go beat somebody up because you can, or like a bully mentality, or I'm gonna go make decisions for this person with their body without their consent. Like that's one of the really darkest forms of predation. And I actually have experience with somebody who's using substances to take advantage of women as they were blacked out. That's just very terrible. So, I mean, like, when I heard what he was planning and then heard that he followed through with it, like, oh man, I got a little upset, and that's actually part of my checkered past. We got into a physical altercation, and I'll talk about that on this thing. Basically, I'm going to be making some music videos to shame the guy because he only got 5 years probation for no less than two women waking up and finding that they had been violated by this guy and calling or involving the police. Thank goodness. I actually ran into one of his victims and I told her to go to the police. I couldn't at the time because I was involved in some cannabis stuff and that was back during Prohibition, so I was all scared of the police. And it's like, even though I had a lot of them as friends and family back home, ooh, scary. Um, but cannabis was just so demonized and vilified, and now we're finding out that, oh wait, it's a miracle cure for neurodivergent folks to act normal in society or to be happy with life, and like it fixes depression and anxiety problems, and like if used responsibly. And that's the problem, is like so many people out there are just trying to use it irresponsibly, or they don't know how to use it responsibly, especially in states that still prohibit it. And it's like, well, if you were able to actually like figure out what works for you, it's quite useful. But unfortunately, a lot of people can't. So, okay, now this is only going to work so far because eventually I'm going to punch through to the, in fact, maybe even right here. No. I might need a bucket of water. Okay. Because it's going to end like right here. Oh, no. Another layer. Okay. Not that ended. There it is. Ooh. Oh, and even there. Okay, so be very careful. Let's go get some stairs and continue that on. Let's get some diorite too, actually, while I think about that. It's going to be a black and white castle. Yeah, so anyways, just basically like, do unto others as you want done unto you. Treat people how you want to be treated. And if everybody did that, like treated each other with respect and dignity, no matter what, doesn't matter how you're feeling, you know. And I think a lot of that is people, they get hungry. Like so then they get hangry, or it's easier to say something that they wouldn't have said later when they've had enough sleep or enough to eat. And if they're just taking care of themselves like that. And our society prides itself on capitalism. You got to maximize the productivity out of every worker and make the most amount of money. And then all these other games and tricks that count against that. And then the people get ground up in this process, like, ground up and die. Or like, I mean, they lose their life force because somebody wanted to maximize profits and do a good job. We equate being successful and having a good job into the number of monies that you can get and the number of exploitations you can do. Like, not really, but that ties into it. And that's why, like, I hear a bunch of quote unquote good business when it's just horrible, like as far as like ethics and stuff. And it's like, and the fine print too, that's predation. Like when you're preying on somebody that doesn't have the time to read carefully and be able to make a good decision about whether or not they even want this service or product. So you have to put it in the fine print, like, here, this sounds really good, but here's the reality of it. It's not that good, and here's why. And it's like, especially with like medical commercials too. That's like a big one. Like, here's this medicine that will fix this, but it'll give you this, this, and this. And it's like the side effects are often way worse than the actual ailment that it fixes. And like people want to say, oh, this is medicine and this is FDA approved and this is what we're spending all this money on. And it's just people's jobs. And I get it. Like, I mean, if we were going to make everything like a great reset, a lot of people would lose their jobs and kind of already did through COVID. COVID was like the first step towards breaking people away from the system where you have to be a wage slave and beholden to someone else and like help maximize their profits, all while neglecting and negating your own mental and physical health, like, and all these things. In fact, I should probably go to the gym and go for a run too at some point today because I've been slacking on that and it shows. And I need to get back into shape. And I was never really in like the best of shape, but like I always had a pot belly. But at the same time, like I was always pretty even keel, like because I always had food in my belly, like it was easier for me not to snap at somebody or not to be quick to anger. I'd just be like, oh, and then when cannabis was introduced, then I was even more so. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Like I can be even more calm and chill about things. Like people could do the craziest things. I'm like, meh, I guess it could be worse. And of course, yeah, when my dad committed suicide, I was only 15, and it was like, that was one of the darkest times ever. And it's just like my guidance was like gone. Although he wasn't really there much anyway, so it's like, he was wrapped up in his own demons, and I attribute a lot of that to military service. And even though he was fortunate enough not to be in, and it was Vietnam. Looking at that, I was like talking to somebody. He was like, "No, no, your dad was probably in Korea." No, no, it was Vietnam. It was the draft, and so like I don't think did actually. Let me check this. Was was the Korean War a draft? Huh. Wait, the 50s and 53? Wait a minute. Vietnam War. Let's do that. Vietnam. Huh. He had that backwards. Okay. So the Korean War was older. That was the 50s, and the Vietnam was the 60s. Someone told me, they're like, I don't think your dad was in the Vietnam War. I think he was in the Korean War. And I was like, wait, what? And so that was a dumb thing to say. But either way. I mean, just ill-informed, didn't have the sources right there, and I guess we could have Googled it, but it was just funny because I was pretty sure that my dad said that he was in the Vietnam War, and he didn't talk about it much, but he was a soldier. I mean, he knew how to shoot and clean guns, and he taught me as such when I was in first grade and all that, and like, and he was in Korea, and that's what it was. He was stationed in Korea during the Vietnam War, and he was a typer. It was kind of funny. He didn't know how to type, but he said he did to go into that thing, and he learned it pretty quick. And that's what he did. He was like a clerk or something. He like typed things up, kept records, but that's not where all the PTSD comes from. You don't have to actually see the person get blown up in front of you. I mean, that definitely will do it. That'll mess somebody up for life, like, you know. But just knowing somebody, like, you're in basic training with a bunch of guys, a bunch of people that you're like, you form relationships and bonds with. And then next thing you know, you start seeing the names on the list. It's like, he's dead, he's dead, he's dead, and that's just the people that you know. And then you start thinking about the people that they killed that you don't even know in Vietnam and Korea and all these places, like, and those people and all of their families who now have one less person, just a name on a wall that like, oh, great, like, what happened here? And meanwhile, like a lot of people, it's all it is. And it's coming crumbling down. And we're starting to find out like the worst of the worst are being done by the wealthiest people. Like the people like, I guess that's probably the scariest thing is if Q was right, because now there's talks coming out that, so people that don't know QAnon was like this conspiracy theorist person that just popped up and started talking about all these like really sick, twisted things, very bad things like pizza parties and stuff, basically child predation and murder even. So like the worst crimes that anybody can think of, um, we're being done. Like, there you go. They're just rich people doing rich people things. And it's like, oof, and hunting people. Like I remember reading this book for language arts in middle school or high school, and it was like the most dangerous game. And it was talking about a rich person hunting a human. And it was supposed to be, I think it was like by F. Scott Fitzgerald or one of the American early writers, and like writing stories and just like hypotheticals. Like, what if somebody was like hunting people for sport? Oh, that'd be pretty crazy. Well, how would that go? And they wrote a story about it. And come to find out, that might have actually been true. Like, that might have been happening. And like Squid Games and all these like game show things that we think are, oh, haha, that's fake, that's fiction. Well, maybe, maybe not. Like, it could very well have been somebody like enticed by a bunch of money and then going to an island and then competing to the death with other people that also signed on because they wanted a chance at a lot of money so they wouldn't have to suffer. And in doing so, risked their entire life experience on this earth. And and that's how money is the root of all evil. It's a tool for sure. Um, but yeah, it's just evil. The evil stuff that people could do. Because if you think about it this way, like, you have one life. That's what you have on this earth. You have your breathing, your eating, your joys, your sorrows, everything. It's just one. You get one of them, and everybody gets their one. Now, there's people that get born with defects or disabilities that they have to have an uphill climb just to experience the simple things that a lot of people take for granted. And that actually got me through some pretty dark times. The 3 affirmations of gratitude. It's like when I was depressed or like, feeling downtrodden, without a job, in jail or homeless or whatever. I mean, I wasn't like homeless for, in fact, I don't think I ever have. My family rallied together behind me, but I was fortunate. And then same thing, like you don't have to actually be the person experiencing it to know that how much that sucks. I saw plenty of people going through it and I was like, man, that really sucks. Like, how could I help this person without, overextending myself to where I can't do anything? Because it's like, I only have a finite, limited amount of resources too, and they seem dwindling all the time, which now it's getting better. And that's why I'm still always broke all the time, is because I still like to just do a little bit of charity when I can. Not much, but like, I think I've given out a couple like $20-25 things. Like, I'm just like, oh hey, or I bought this kid a copy of Minecraft, but he worked for it. He gave me a bunch of thumbnails to use in my Minecraft videos, and I think it was some kid in India, not trying to be racist, that just sounded like what his accent sounded like, and he got a copy. And I want to be able to do that and inspire other people to do that. So like, I can maybe do a couple every year, but if I inspire, 10 people to do it, then that means, 10 to 20 times a year that happens. And if they can inspire another 5 people each, it just exponentially grows. It's like a pay it forward thing. And just rallying the people, rallying them to a cause or like some kind of thing to where their little bits of money, which won't seem like a whole lot to them in that moment, but it's like directing a fire hose of just all this water, or just directing a hose, spraying funds and money and tools to people. And like, but then not just like throwing money around too. We got to fix the underlying problems. Like when I was talking about Breaking Bad earlier, that's one of the biggest problems is our healthcare system is a pay to play. Like, if you don't have money, you die. Like, I mean, you're going to die earlier. You're going to be, cheated on part of your like life experience, all because you just didn't have enough of this tool to stay alive. Now, and that's, when you say it that way, it just sounds absolutely insane, but that's the truth of it. Like, I mean, when Walter had his cancer diagnosis in Breaking Bad, it was basically a death sentence because he was a public school teacher. Public school teachers notoriously don't make a lot of money, yet they're expected to show up and perform and teach our kids, our younger generation, of how to be good leaders and how to fix the problems of the world when they can barely fix the problems of just teaching these kids. And thankfully a lot of people are banding together. Like, I've noticed like Chromebooks are a thing. Like almost every kid has a Chromebook now. I did buy a charger because my son lost his, but that's okay. Like, that bought a brand new charger, so that's actually in the long run going to help out, Plus, if I remember, I don't think his charger plugged in all that well. It was pretty worn and used. But my point is like when I was a kid in school, like when I was his age going through it, we would have computer labs. And even that was astounding compared to my parents' generation, who had typewriters and, maybe their school had a computer. Actually, now, as I say that, I don't think so, because they were still using typewriters in college. So when they were in like elementary school and middle school, it was all pencil and paper and like, just writing things down like that. So, all right. Oh, I love diorite. It's so cool. I want to try to like granite, but I just don't. It's just not as cool. I mean, because it's like marble, and I feel like I'm in a marble quarry. And I did a bunch of art history classes studying stuff like that, which I'm gonna need to document all that stuff again too, because I've lapsed from that. Like, yeah, I did a lot of classes and I learned about it, but then I promptly forgot about it. Like, I could name off a few Renaissance artists and stuff, but I mean, and the work that they did with stone, like their whole life's work they put into their life experience, making something beautiful for other people to enjoy. Being part of something greater than themselves. Granted, it was still so they could be seen and heard, and that is an integral part of humanity. Is we like to be seen, we like to be heard. I mean, case in point, you're listening to this. I like to be seen and heard, but I want to make sure that I'm actually saying something worth hearing, not just slop. A little bit of brain rot's okay, and it might distract somebody from a bad day they're having, or cheer somebody up, or just give them a chuckle. But like the stuff with these, I want to be able to fix the problems or help people fix the problems. Because again, it's not just me. Yes, I wear the crown in this world, this Minecraft world, which is only accessible by me for the time being. And I hope to build, whole networks of servers. In fact, my buddy, he's already built some pretty impressive stuff. He's working with Fedora right now, which is a type of Linux. And I'm working with Ubuntu. And Ubuntu, the concept of that is actually an African concept of I am because we are. And it is basically ingraining team sportsmanship and teamwork into just living life. Whereas within America, we're very competitive. Like, the early bird gets the worm. Like, the first one there is going to get it, and then what's left, the other people get to pick over. Like, stuff like that. And it's made it adversarial to where instead of being kind, peaceful people, we're constantly like fake it till you make it. And, like, you gotta, like be the first one in there. If you're not first, you're last, and like make life a whole rat race. And it's just exhausting. Also, we're gonna need a lot of torches. A lot of torches. Although, come to find out, you can make a torch with charcoal, and that's what I started to say my son found the other day. Is like, because I mean, I used to be like, oh no, don't use coal for smelting stuff because then you're just wasting it. But you could use charcoal, so you can smelt a block of wood with a block of wood into charcoal, and then you can use that charcoal to make a torch. So, or you can go find coal like I am and use just the straight coal for the torches. And in one of my realms, I had played it so long and mined so much coal that I was literally like making these blocks of coal, whereas you take 9 pieces of coal and that makes one block. And then I was making an entire railway hallway out of coal. It was kind of messed up, but I was almost like sequestering carbon back into the earth as I like gutted the earth and took out all the resources. I don't know. So much about humanity is just wrong. We need to fix it. Thinking about strip mining and open air mines and like other mines and I don't know. But to get all the stuff to make these games, like the heavy metals and all that, like I don't know. I'm hoping aliens just pop up and be like, okay, you did okay, but now we're going to help you with this. Or even time travelers too, be like, okay, well, this is where you blew yourselves up. Now we're going to prevent it. And I feel like we're like getting closer and closer to that now. And it's been kind of like a fear that we've had for decades. Like since the Cold War with Russia was like, we have enough nuclear weapons to just utterly destroy all life on Earth. Basically have another localized Big Bang here, whether you believe in that or not. It's like, it's the current thing. So just because we see that the universe is expanding in a certain direction by measuring things and then recording where they are and then kind of, observing that way. So what if we made it like a mostly white castle? Hmm. I don't know. Could mix it up, change it, abandon it, build a whole nother thing. I'm just building up the blocks. I had a whole ski hill, like an artificial ski slope in the Realm world. That was pretty fun. I might recreate that in this world. Had a chairlift and everything where it'd pop you out. It would take you up and then swoop down and pop you out on the ground. Especially with the city texture pack. This alright looks so good. But anyways, predation and how we stop that is we need to come together and use some of that money to make zero interest loans. Like zero interest, none. That's it. Like, and it's not a business, it's like a non-profit. It's just a group or a volunteer thing, and people volunteer to it, and then you'd have to sign an agreement if you take out a loan in that way that if you don't pay it back, you're subject to a late penalty, with some grace given. I mean, I feel like there shouldn't be a late penalty the first or second time that they're late on a payment. And it'd just be like a, here's a reminder, you need to make this payment, or you need to talk to us, or something like that, you know. But basically, and it's going to get taken advantage of in the beginning. Like there will be people that'll take it and run with it. But the thing is like you can only run so far, and eventually you're going to have to answer for what you did. So even if the person you borrowed money from, you know, passes away or disappears or moves away, they're not going to forget that debt, and you're not going to forget that debt. And it's just going to fester and make your life miserable, and it's going to be hanging over your head, and all of this and that, and this and that. And so, you know, and unfortunately, that's where a bunch of the gang violence comes from, is people taking shortcuts against each other, oftentimes because of our criminal justice system and how that's horribly flawed. And so then they have to start taking shortcuts against each other and picking and choosing who to screw over and who to rob, and then just so they can, you know, ease up some of the friction and the stress on their life, only to find, oh wait, now I have this other stress and friction, and that person's not going to forget. Like they're just going to be like, oh, well, you did this. Why'd you do that? And when are you going to pay that back? Like, you know, or make it right. And that's actually another part of communal, is make it right, to where we could actually like open communication and allow people to come forward without fear of going to jail or prison or any of that. And see, that's the other thing. It's like we impose these hardships on people, you know, especially for like cannabis prohibition, but really all prohibition. It's just like we've made it to where if you get caught with a little bit of a substance, you could be going to jail. Like you're in a cage. They will put you in a cage, kidnap you, abduct you, put a bunch of forms in front of you that you have no idea what's going on, and like, and just an utterly like just horrible situation. But if people have money, they can avoid all of that, and it's, oh, okay, we can bail right out. The people that don't have money or aren't talking to their families or don't have any like resources, they get to sit in jail while the courts decide what to do with them. You know, and like, oh, these people are already pretty poor, let's take more money from them. You know, and it's just such a backwards way of like dealing with things. And for the longest time, it worked, because then it's like, well, I don't want to lose my money, so I'm going to be scared into acting right. When really, through accountability and communication technology, we can encourage people to act right because they want to. Because at the basis, every human being wants to. It's just they don't know if they can. Or in that moment, they might be weak, or in that moment, they might be rude or crass or disrespectful or something like that. But that's not who they are. That's not defining of who they are. Now, the problem is with the more wealth you have, the less accountable you are for things. Like, if you could just go skip the line and go do this, or you don't have to hang out with the poor people, you can, oh, there will always be like a hotel room for you. There will always be a rental car for you. Like, there's always something, you know, resources. Whereas for poor people, they're forced to be more sociable and rely on, you know, strangers for help and stuff, and which works to a point. But ultimately what we need is just to organize the wealth better and make it to where wealth isn't such a tool for manipulation, but a tool for progress and construction. Like, how do we build better lives and better societies and better existences without, you know, slaves? And because wage slaves are still very much a slave. Like, you work a minimum wage 9 to 5 or something, and that's if you're lucky. Like, when you're working minimum wage jobs, oftentimes it's nights and weekends, like the time when other people are out doing fun stuff. That's when you're there tethered to making money there, and like doing some service or building some product for someone else, you know, to make them even more money while you scrape by. But then you get the experience, and that's going to count better for a better paying job later, which is still just another instance of scraping by. It's just now you have a little bit more to scrape by with. And so, and then you die, you know, or you could die unexpectedly along the way. And then it's all for naught. Like, you know, all that work that you did was for nothing. Like, it was pointless, and then somebody else is going to come along, hopefully your family, and pick up where you left off and be like, oh, I'll take this money and this tool, and then I'll use it for my own life experience on this earth. And yeah, like I said, we're changing. Like it is a great reset that's nigh. Um, we're not going to do it the Luigi Mangione way. We're just start executing people, but like we need to communicate that certain things need to come to a screeching halt. Like, all the extra greed and like the shortcuts and tricks and like the ways that people have been able to earn their money if it's done in a dirty way. That's one of the best things is like, hip hop's been talking about this for a while. Like, what was that song? I made a G today, but yeah, you made it in a sleazy way. I think that's Tupac, I believe. But, and it's true. It's like, you know, you can be proud of like, oh, I made some money and I did this, but then it's like, yeah, but it was a sleazy way. Like, did you really do good for humanity, or did you just rip somebody off and now you took their money? Like, that's kind of more what they're talking about. So it's like, all right, well, yeah, you got money, but it's dirty money. Like, oh, there's the alarm. Now I think I'm just gonna open my kiddos' doors. They're so sleepy. Uh, we've got quite a bit of materials now, and yeah, and I need to rehook the router up here because like when it's hardline to the router, like my movie uploads take maybe like 20-30 seconds tops, like, or maybe a minute or two. Now like I've tried to upload episode 0 of this, which it's a good 5 gigs. It's a 40-minute video, but still like what ended up happening was like, oh yeah, it was it's having troubles. Like it's about a third of the way done, and I keep like restarting it, and I'm gonna need to watch it and see if it actually like made it all the way, which it should, but it might have poor quality or something. Ultimately, I just need to move the router back down here. So, all right. Well, anyways, let's get this and oh man, there's a lot in this particular one. Okay, let's go back up here. Yeah, I need to do a stream of just like a good 2 or 3 hours. I just be building this and then people can come in, hang out. Uh, and yeah. So much. Ooh, and a lot of diamonds too. Which actually, yep. 1, 2, 3. Oh wait, I don't need that. Oh. I need 2 sticks. Yes. So this will get me obsidian once I find it. And then I can go to the nether. So that'll be fun. So alright, ta-ta for now. I will see you in the next one.